everybody. How are you doing? I'm Miss Jen, and this is Minute to Skim It. I know you're missing somebody. Usually Shanice is with me, but Shanice is a big family reunion. I really love that her family is so gigantic and that they go and do this every single year. It's so big that like each part of her family, like they're like, oh, this part of the family is from Aunt so-and-so. This is Aunt so-and-so's family. This is, and they all wear color coordinated outfits. It's kind of crazy, but they're out having fun. It is a well-deserved trip for her. She worked so hard. So it's going to be just me. I did read a whole bunch of stuff. So hopefully I have enough to keep you guys happy. It's kind of interesting. This week was kind of, I think, like a low independent comic book week, but it's all been made up for by other incredible things. So I'm excited about what I read. Hopefully this is going to be helpful for you. For your pull lists, remember to use me for what to call your local comic shop for, to add to your list today. Before it runs out, you don't want it to run out. That would be bad. So funny, it's not pulling down. Hey, now I get to see everybody. Barlord's on, Mr. Nope. I don't know why it wasn't showing me the normal feed. So if it gets really loud here, it's because there's rainstorms all around us. So there's no telling. It might be loud and rainy. All right, let's talk about comic books. Okay, I didn't remember what this one was going to be about because it's not really tied to anything else, or at least I didn't think that it was. But it's all Alex Packnadell. There's two big stories that are back to back in this. So basically, think of it as like half one story, half another story, and it does actually tie right to the end of the Krakoa era storylines. The first storyline deals with Alex Summers, who's Havoc there on the front cover, and Madeline Pryor, who rescues him at the end of the Krakoa era. He actually gets killed and resurrected, and then this is kind of dealing with the storyline where there's something really bad that happens to his body. He's like all weirdly burnt up and stuff, and looks like he has to go to, I'll just call it purgatory. They have another name for it in the X universe, to try to figure out how to like find someone to fix it for him. And there's something he doesn't want to tell her. There's really a funny looking demon actually that kind of is taking care of him during this process. So that it's really cool to still see them tying stories back to the really cool stuff that happens at the end of all of Hickman's run. So yeah, they keep going back. But Barlord, remember at the very end of that book series, it does say end of the first Krakoan era. So they're going to keep touching back to it because they're going to go back to it as a big storyline. It may be years before they go back to it, but I don't want them to overwrite that. I like that all the storylines are still remembering that history and that the history has implications to stuff that's going forward. It makes me very happy because I dislike it a lot when they spend so much time building a universe of story and then they're like, we're just going to go back to our normal way of telling stories and just don't acknowledge any of that cool back history. So I'm liking that they're keeping on with it. And then I didn't get a chance to read the second story, which deals with Omega Red. That also looked really cool. It was just for lack of, like, there were a ton of big, thick books this week, and I wanted to make sure to get through all of them. So if you like X titles and you like X titles attached to the old story, the old characters, this is really great. And I don't know if this is a one-shot or not. Marvel has a bad habit of just putting number one on things, even if there's not going to be another story. This feels like there should be a continuation, but sometimes they continue it in this title, and sometimes they continue it in an annual for another book or another one-shot. So it's kind of fun following the storylines. There's another book today that I'm going to talk about that like has been that way, where it's like it's telling a story, but it's segmented into very different books, which is kind of fun. Oh, Ultimate Spider-Man, you make me so happy. Okay. So, Pete and Mary Jane have gone away for Pete to do. I'm trying to remember. So there's this big thing that they revealed recently where the Sinister Six, right? You remember Sinister Six? It's not the same as what you're used to because it's an Ultimate title. It was revealed that Harry Osborn's wife, Gwen, is a member of the Sinister Six, but the Sinister Six are all they're all Mysterio, if that makes sense. They're a part of a secret society under which they pull from the power of Mysterio. So they all use this power. And there's crazy people that are part of this. I'm hoping not wrecking anything because I think they actually revealed who's in it already. But it's weird to see Robbie Robertson is part of it and some other cool characters from, you wouldn't expect them to be part of it from the way they act in the main universe. So it's neat to see what they're up to. It's really cool to see Pete's son Ben continuing to wear this black suit version of the Spider-Man uniform. And it's so refreshing to have them continue to tell a story where it's very clear that the whole family is aware of what's going on. They all know that he is Spider-Man. They're supporting that. They want him to continue on with what he's doing, but also they're reconciled with the fact that there's some danger involved, which is very cool. I'm so glad that there's not a lot of talk about the Parker luck and how it's horrible. All of his family is always in danger. The family is fully capable and willing to put themselves on the line. Great storytelling in these books. I actually had a fellow come in today and he had heard that the Ultimate line was really good. So he already had Ultimate Spider-Man. So he bought all the graphic novels there were for Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Black Panther. And we would have sold him Ultimates, which is what he really wanted. But we've had that on order for a long time and just can't get that filled. I don't know if they're at backstock, they're making a new printing or what. I sure would like to have some more Ultimates books. So that line is still really strong. People are continuing to add themselves to it. That's the other thing that's interesting about the Ultimate line is that not as strong as Absolute for people adding themselves to it every week, but I feel like it's a rarity in comic books to have a title come out. Usually what happens is you order really high for number one, and then number two orders go down to like 10% of what your number one order was quite often. That's kind of pretty normal for the industry standard. We'll let you see behind the curtain for what actually happens. Because what happens usually is that we buy a whole bunch of number one so that everyone can try it out. And then by the time you get to issue two, there's a ton of people that forget to tell their local comic shop that I like that number one, add it to my pullbacks, or I like that number one, I'm definitely going to come in and pick it up. So people order according to what they see as people added to their polls. So sometimes issue number two is the lowest print run of a book. So if you guys are collectors and you're like, how do I, and often number two has got something really big that happens in it. It's kind of interesting to me that that's the way it goes down. But for the Ultimate line and specifically for Absolute, we have been seeing like our numbers for ads to pull boxes. Some of them are people that are already our regular customers. And then oftentimes now we're seeing people that are not really comic book people. They've kind of like heard from their friends, etc., that they really want, that they've loved it, that they should go and read it. So it just makes my heart so happy that there's so many good storylines and good books right now that we've got people that have never been comic book people coming in and giving it a try. First appearances are also sometimes say for issue two, that's true, Barlord. Sometimes they just give you a cameo in issue one. I think they know that issue two is likely to be a low pull. And so they're rewarding everybody that's like smarty patardies and adds it to their pull list early. So I think that's really cool. Okay. This is a lot of fun, y'all. I don't know if you guys have been reading the Deadpool storyline. I really like that he's now doing business with his daughter. So his daughter is really fun. I mean, she can open up portals so they can move between places, and she's got a great skill set. In this issue, the first story that's in there, we see that they are fighting. Oh, I forgot the bad guy's name. He's a really tough bad guy that they're up against. That, like, somehow has taken, I think it's sword metal, and like put it over where his heart would be. So they're trying to stab him through the heart, and that's not working. And so they have to really work together. It's like their trio of people who work together. Taskmaster is part of their team, who they still call a Deadpool, which is kind of funny. And then his daughter and him are all working together. And that's a really cool storyline for how that all resolves. And then there are a couple other stories in the book. Heads up, there's a brand new character that's introduced, I think, in the middle story. Imagine if you paired together, I can't remember who the artist is that is actually on the book, but the really beautiful art style of like Derek Chu a little bit. So it has a little bit of manga styling to the character, but then that like really beautiful, you know how almost like Adam Hughes like makes the wets look wet and the highlights really highlighted. I don't know. It's the reflective materials look really reflective. It's yeah, there is a variant with it on them. I think it's B or C or D cover. It's one of the later covers has their first appearance on it. And they look really, really cool. And the interaction between them is so hilarious. So I'm going to give you something a tiny bit spoilery. So if you don't want to know the tiny bit of spoilery, just close your ears. But the shtick that starts the whole interaction between them is she shows up and tries to kill him. And in their interactions with each other, which are very quippy like usual, exactly what you would expect, you find out that he basically put a hit on himself because his phone rings. And she's like, what's the deal, man? You put a hit on yourself? And he basically says, I was kind of bored. So you gotta love a Deadpool. It's just like, what am I gonna do today? I think I'll put a hit on myself. So anyway, this looks like a character that's gonna stick around. I really like her a lot. There's a lot of flirtation, so much flirtation. She's not really having it, but you know how he is. He's kind of like, woohoo. And then there is even another story back behind that. And then also this big part of their team is, I forgot to mention, it's like, I think the big, is it Sleeper? No, that's Sleeper's a different one of them. There's another big red symbiote that like hangs out with them a lot. So, and that interaction is really funny. So this is a big, gigantic, thick book. If you wanted to enjoy something really cool and to get your big time money's worth out of it, it was so long that it was engaging enough that I read all of it, which is weird for me because when I know I have to read for review, I usually read the first story, the first couple stories maybe. But just for lack of like, oh man, will I be able to remember all that storyline for review when I'm reading this many books? I don't want to get them confused. Oftentimes I'll just stop short and be like, okay, well, there's other books, stories, but I've read all of this and it was really fun. So try this one out. All right. I think that Shanice and I have been talking to you about the importance of these books, but I will reiterate. These books are so important that Marvel actually sent us an overprint this time around. They do it occasionally, and here's what I've learned about when Marvel does that. So what Marvel will do is send us a special packet that says, here's some extra books. We think you are going to need them, essentially what they're saying. So usually I cue onto those as being like, okay, there's something big that's happening here that if not this week, in coming weeks, people will be like, oh, crap, I needed that book. So they're helping us out by making sure we have them on our racks. So if you don't know what's been going on in these giant sizes that have been coming out, the through line is with Miss Marvel. She's been grabbed by Legion who no longer is attached to, so remember Legion just kind of like with way a symbiote works. He had a human that was kind of at his base. That human is no longer with him. So it's just him. And he says it multiple times in this book that he is just power. And he has been dragging her through time space, I guess, to these big major storyline arcs. And in their case, it would be their actual time. And kind of affecting what's going on. So this one is as if you drop them into the Age of Apocalypse. And you can never drop somebody into an event without and have them be actually part of it without it affecting what goes on kind of in a more permanent way. So this one is really, really cool. One, because it takes you back. I really love these old storylines. For some of you guys, they might be new storylines. You've never got to read them, but I started in comic books when Apocalypse was going strong. And so this feels very nostalgic to me because those storylines were so great that I love going back and seeing that, like, they're like, oh, there's also other mutants that have been coming back through time and talking to us. One of them was name was Bishop, which we love Bishop, of course. And just a great way to tell a story. So all of these giant sizes are attached with this through story with Miss Marvel and Legion traveling through time. And it's all going to kind of like end in like a big finale that is going to affect a lot of things and drive us into the next storyline, the next big arc for story. So think of the giant size storylines as being like their big summer through line. They usually, most DC and Marvel do this quite often, where they have a storyline that works through all the titles that brings them to the after summer big story arc that they're going to be pushing toward. So there's going to be this big storyline, and then whatever happens at the end of Imperial, which we know that that's going to be big space stuff, because that's what we've been missing for a while. Everything's been kind of like centered on Earth and Earth things, but we haven't been out in space for a while. So I'm excited for that. I like all our space heroes, honestly. I miss getting to see what they're up to out there. Now, this is such really cool art style. So this is an image book, Chris Condon writing, and then I don't think if I have seen this artist before, I don't recognize it. So Jeffrey Allen Love. News from the Fallout is basically the tale of a group of soldiers in an undefined time, because it's all in this cool, like, black and white, very non-detailed art style. It's basically them being told that they need to go out and get into a bunker, and that there's going to be a bomb set off. And they're essentially saying, I feel like we're really close to where the bomb's going to be going off. Don't you think we should move the bunker back? And so there is some crazy stuff that happens in regard to the effects of whatever this bomb was. It's not really what you're expecting, honestly. The Fallout does something else to them. And it's kind of cool. It feels like it's going to be, you know, those episodes on TV and movies where they make them very, like, I think it's called an encapsulated episode, where it's big action, but then it gets centered on one place. Like when everyone falls back to a house, or falls back to a business, or falls back to whatever. It's like things like The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist, where it's like everything is so hyped up, super stressful and all those things, but it's all in one location. You don't know what else is going on anywhere else, and it doesn't matter. Superpowers without the spider? No superpowers, Barlord. If you're a horror person, you will love this. That's the only hint I'm going to get. If you like horror, you will like this. And if you are an artsy person, you will love this. So, great image title. It's a fast read because it's mostly about the art. And I don't hate that at all. I probably want to watch it, go back and read it again to enjoy all of like the little subtleties that you add in art. And it's like, oh, I didn't notice that in the background. That was a good hint. All right. Is the interior in black and white or just the cover? Nope. I believe it's all in those black and white and gray tones. I don't remember there being other color in it, but there might have been some little bits. But as I remember, it's all that kind of cool, like almost like looks like charcoal art, which I haven't seen, like I said. All right. Somewhere out there are a ton of people that are big fans of Lazarus by Greg Rucka. I have never read the original series. I've always kind of intended to, but it doesn't matter because they did such a good job at the beginning of this book kind of explaining what is going on. What the heck is Lazarus about? So the way I understand it from what I read, in the near future, there is all the power is held by very rich families, kind of like now, but in a more severe way, that there are only so many families, and those families kind of get shrunk down, I guess, as they're warring with each other. And they have people within their families that end up with this really, they're more powerful, they're their kind of weapons. What else do we know about them? They're used as kind of like their weapons of war, and they kind of like, if one passes on, then it goes to, they have another person that they choose in the family. So this book series, I don't know from the beginning, but this one focuses in on a specific member of, I think their last name is Lazarus, is the family. Their chosen person has, instead of embracing this role, decided to just leave. So this book kind of gives you a real distinct understanding of the people that are part of the family, how they interact with each other, how much control they have over the person that's their kind of like, I'm just going to keep on calling them champion because I don't know what else to call them. They're representative, they're whatever. And whoever is the leader of the family, how almost like mafia-esque kind of power they have over people outside their organization. They're just kind of work for them, and inside the organization. So everybody that's not part of one of these families is given some other kind of name, the Lost or something. And those people are kind of like the underground. So they're kind of like have bonded together and are fighting against the big families. The dynamic is really cool. It's really dark. It's really good writing by Rucka and great art. So I don't know if you guys want to add another long form book series, but this one's got a lot of material before it because they had a full Lazarus series, then they did a Lazarus X plus 46 or whatever that series was called, kind of around pandemic time, and now this. So it's a good filled in universe. Okay, this is the coolest idea. So I've known Don Hanfield for quite a lot of years. I met him back in the early days of Scout, and I've always really loved his sensibility about comic books and comic book writing, because I'm a very visual comic book reader. I almost always, when I'm reading a comic book, kind of envision what it would be like in motion as TV or movie or something. That's not for me to, I'm not saying that I think all things should become a TV series or a movie. It's just the way my brain works for it. It puts it into motion, imagines everything that happens in between the panels. And clearly he's thought very deeply about that. So this series, the number one, as an ash can kind of thing, showed up first. Here's one right here. At New York Comic Con This might have been pre-pandemic or a tiny bit afterwards. So it's been around as an idea for a while. And then, of course, Scout as a company kind of separated out some of its creators, founders. And so he has actually started up this new company called AMP. He and Joshua Starnes, formerly from Red 5. So this is a new company with new push. And I know 2 or 3 of the titles that they have coming up. Like the Lovesick is one of the next ones, which is going to be hilarious. You guys are going to love that idea. That one's really cool. I'll tell you the pitch here in a minute. But so Never Wars. Imagine a series that starts out in 3 distinct number 1s. So what you're looking for tomorrow is that there's a 1A, a 1B, and a 1C. They are completely different books. So they aren't variants. They are different books. Now, number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and everything that goes on after it are going to be one title. But the reason that they started it this way is because it really is. The Never Wars are a war that ends up happening between Wonderland, Oz, Neverland. So you've got the 1A book is from the point of view of Dorothy Gale, who, when you meet her, she is a World War I believe, nurse in the trenches. The storyline is basically she has a soldier that's been kind of injured very badly, but not so bad that they're not going to try to put him right back out on the front, probably as fodder. But she's kind of gotten like not a love relationship with him, but just gotten to know him and is like, this is a bad idea. So things happen in the storyline that mostly takes place during that time period and then ends in an event which actually gets them all sucked up into like a whirlwind. And then they end up in where she's usually from, where I'm like, forget Dorothy Gale's from. Oz. So you get to see 2 or 3 pages of her like showing up there. Kind of feels like she knows where she is. Like she was back in time on purpose, which makes me believe that there's some real like thought process to like how long have these wars been going on and how far do they cross back. So then your 1B has got a second storyline, which this is like a little boy who they kind of find out he's joined the war, but he's really only 14. So you see he's got a little plush bunny there with him. They actually catch him with that in his pack as he's like showing up for war. And you get to see him in his early day of the war. They actually find something for him to do that isn't being on the front line. Even though they find out he's 14, they're like, well, you're already here, I guess. So at the end of that book, gets sucked back up, right? And then the 1C is a guy named Peter, with Petyr. And he is, sorry, that's loud. And that ends up being, you're going to figure out that's Peter Pan, right? But he is also just definitely from the war, and at the end of the cycle of his awesome storyline gets sucked up. Go to Kansas. That's right. So all these stories are going to meet together in issue number 2. So you're going to see how that all gets together. Whether they're going to keep on going back in time, I don't know, because I haven't got to read number 2. But I felt appropriate. Oh, the alarm. That's right. It is. There's like, oh no. What is it? Dodge, duck and dodge. So give these a chance. I know it's a lot to ask someone to buy 3 books of a number 1. Just imagine that there are number 1 and 2 variants, and that's the way you're going to be buying them, but you're going to get 3 stories. And the thing that also I think is really clever about the book is that the first page for each of them starts with the exact same line. And that I like that ties them together in some way. You're like, wait, am I reading the same story? Nope. there's different images on this page, so it can't be the same story clearly. So give these guys a try. They're really putting their hearts into it. They're making sure that retailers have what they need to succeed. And I like these guys, so try them out. New History of the DC Universe. I did not read this whole book because I realized what it was, which is some of the best resource material. This is, who do they say? It was like, there was somebody that actually did research. Is that Mark Wade? Mark Wade and somebody else did research, lots of research, to give you the history of the DC Universe from a very specific, almost feels like from the beginning in a time linear way, which is very helpful, especially for someone like me. So no lie, I'm 30 years in the industry and I don't know very much about DC's early days. It is one of the oldest of the superhero universes. And even if I had started at the beginning of when I could have, if it was my first thing I read in 1975, there's still so much that happens before 75. There's no way to really know all of it unless you just take a course on the history of the DC universe. So this is the perfect thing to pick up because they do the whole thing in comic book style. And then they have a whole section at the back of the book, which actually gives you references to where the book was, where that came from, and where it fits in the storyline. It's such a cool thing, y'all. Every once in a while, they make these as big, like omnibuses, and those are also very useful. But for the price point, if you had somebody that was thinking about getting into DC, or if you were yourself feeling like there's so much that's happening, especially in like JSA or JLA Unlimited, all these ones that are touching back on some of these very old characters, that you're like, I don't have the money to go back and buy the books that are, Golden Age Green Lantern. How am I going to know anything about that guy? How am I going to find out who the Watchers are? They keep mentioning this one, the Mother Box. What the heck is that? All of those things, if put in context for when they appeared first, who brought them to us, were they destroyed, have they been lost to time, all those things are so cool. Like even in the first 3 or 4 pages that I did read, I was like, oh, no way. Did no idea the Spectre was that. It's like the backstory for a couple of characters just blew my mind, because I was like, that's not what I would have thought. So perfect resource. Thank you so much, DC, Mark Wade, everybody else that worked on this project. I know that doing research for this stuff has got to be daunting because there's so much material. And sometimes the things that are happening only get mentioned in a tiny bit of a book. I'm sure there's some person out there that just like every single time a book gets made, they type it into the system for like, this character is mentioned. Is it the first time it's been mentioned? We got a database. Maybe we'll look that up. And also the thing I've learned is that there are so many names of characters and places and whatever that are the exact same in both Marvel and DC universes. And I'm like, I don't know how they got away with this. And it makes way more sense that they're going to be crossing over soon. By the way, you should definitely add Deadpool, Batman to your pull box, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to get caught short on that, and you don't want to be. I think that the creator team has already been out talking about, like, y'all don't want to miss putting this on your list. So there you go. Reminder time. Oh my goodness. So wonderful. Every single time I pick up an absolute, I think to myself, this one's going to be one where I'm like, this one was okay, but nope, I haven't found it yet. So this one specifically is so cool. So she hears tell that she's trying to find anywhere another Amazon. So she's been on a tear for trying to find someone that can tell her where another Amazon might be. Because remember, she was not raised with other Amazons. To her, they're kind of like a mythic thing. She knows they must exist, but she has never seen one. So she hears a rumor that there is one in this, how do they explain what it is? We'll call it a labyrinth because it is, but also it's described as a prison. So she gets warned very specifically not to go there. But of course, she's got lots of magics, dark magics. So she's just like, you say that there's no exit to this place, but I can make my own doors. Because we've seen her do that, right? With her stuff. And I will let you enjoy the who and what she meets in this place. And I don't think she gets what she is expecting out of this trip. But also you get to see her use her red lasso, which is dope. It does look like the labyrinth and the Minotaur, but it's not going to work out the way you think, which is, I think, is exceptional storytelling when you go like, okay, I'm going to take things that are from the lore of Circe and all of those things that have been told and told and told and told and told, and make it something you don't expect. That is some real skill right there. Oh my gosh, y'all. If you follow me online, you know that I made a post today in which I said I was not ready for this and I wasn't okay anymore. And also I needed hugs. But also that this is continuing to be some of the best writing and art combined together of any series I have ever read. And that is not without saying I haven't read a lot of really amazing things. So if what's holding you back from reading this series is the art style, which is what I hear often from people when they look at number one, they're like, I can't get behind that art style. I'm like, just daggum read the number one with an open mind and understand that the art style is everything for this story. It will blow your ever-loving mind. So in this one, it has become clear that there is a big strain in his marriage relationship. His wife is very used to him taken off in the middle of the night or being gone for long amounts of time where he doesn't say where he is because he is a detective, right? So he's always out trying to figure out what's going on. And because of the, I think you guys could probably be spoiled by this, because of the white Martian / the rays of the sun, or at least what they think is what's going on, everybody is gotten ramped up to 29,000 for being pissed off. So in this book, basically just over and over again, people are like, oh, you bumped into me and spilled my coffee. I am now going to like take your teeth out of your mouth. Just unreasonable amounts of violence in reaction to tiny amounts of things. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And you've got that juxtaposed, him trying to figure out, because he knows, he really truly knows what's going on, because he, through the Martian Manhunter, which only he can see or hear, he knows exactly what's going on. He can see what other people can't see. He knows what other people can't know. And he knows that the Martian Manhunter is trying to figure out something to resolve this. And meanwhile, his wife knows there's something that's off about him. She says basically she knows that she knows he's going to be gone all the time. She's used to his life in that way, but he won't let her in. He doesn't spend time with the family anymore. If he's there, he is not really there, but it's only really because he's seeing and hearing stuff from that the Martian Manhunter can see, like stuff that's not in the room, that he can see what's happening in the other part of the city. He can't explain why he knows these things because, I don't know, people will probably think he's crazy. So anyway, this is like real life stress. It must be kind of what it's like to be a police officer, honestly, or somebody that works in those high stress situations. Like, no one can really understand what they go through, but to find somebody that actually can make it through that is a very rare thing. And all of this like other stuff that's going on that's like is the world just going to like kill itself because of all of this? Like gets more and more and more and more and more severe. And then you get to the very end of this book and realize that the thing that both of these two main characters think is going on isn't the thing that's going on. So just be ready to be punched in the face a couple times and feel wrung out totally and go take a mental health day afterwards. It's just so good. So good. I just think that writers that make you feel so strongly about something you know isn't real, but you're like, man, if that was real, that would be just like, just taking you through it. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain this book anymore to you guys, except for like, just go buy it. Dagummit. Sorry, I ran out of materials today. There are not a ton of number ones, so that's great. It gives you a chance to jump into some stuff that you may have gotten the number one of. There's plenty of number twos this week. There's also some new printings for, I think, Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman. There was something else that came out also as a new print of something. They're doing such a good job of keeping things in print for us. It's such a great thing because I have so many people coming in now, like I said, looking for this material. Matter of fact, so many people are asking for Absolute trade paperbacks. I have to tell them, listen, they're not putting out those trade paperbacks until August. That is the first time you're going to be able to see that material. So I have a feeling that even though I ordered like what I call myself a futon, it might not be enough. I don't buy that the Ultimate Universe ends at 24. Me either, honestly, Barlord. Why would you build such an awesome universe and then wrap it up at 24? I'm really hoping they change their mind. That was what was so cool about Absolute, right? Martian Manhunter was supposed to be a 6-issue series, and that was supposed to be it. And they've moved it to 12, and I'm hoping that they just look at this universe that they've made and just be like, we're just continuing that on. As long as people want to read stories about those characters, please, y'all, write to DC and write to Marvel and be like, there is no need for you to stop what's going on here. If you want to go back and focus on your other characters and their stories, that's perfect. But just leave these guys so we can keep buying these books forever. Yeah, I think so too, Barlord. And especially if we do tell them. Just remember that those companies are moved by numbers. So if they see that you will continue to buy those, you tell them you will continue to buy those, then they will continue to make those. So definitely do that. And then make sure, this is the other thing that I've learned kind of over all the years, is that all the companies can look and see what people, retailers, have ordered, whether something is in print or not. So let's say I would like to have a book that's out of print. If I put an order for it, if it was something that would get reprinted, they look at those numbers, and when those numbers get up to the number that they need to have to be able to reprint a book, then they'll reprint it. But if I, as a retailer, don't ever put that I want that, and that would be from you telling me that you want that, if I don't ever put that into the system, then they think there's no demand because that's all they can see. They can't like take a poll, be like, call you at the house. Hey, do you think that we need to make a new print of the Ultimates? Oh, okay. So this is like where the communication is very key. Tell your local comic shop. Local comic shop enters it in as a back order. The back orders are large enough that the companies say it's time to print. So that's how it works. Yeah, Absolute Wonder Woman, I did not foresee being this strong because I have started reading Wonder Woman before and just kind of like, it's a great story, but I've got so much other stuff to read. I just never really said that was the character that was like, spoke to me. But now, man, now it's crazy. This is also a reminder to connect with your local comic shop. If you're out traveling, it is the time to be out on summer vacation. It's a perfect opportunity to go and try out another comic book store. Go see what they have. I've had a lot of people traveling and visiting me, which is super nice. If you're going to travel and come see me, make sure you let me know. I'll make sure I'm at the store for you. I'd like to meet you. But use, at least for right now, comicshoplocator.com. And if not, we'll start telling you where the new information lands. And you just need a zip code. You'll be able to tell all those. And plus, also, you can use Google, right? And pick up your pull list. Barlord brings up a great point. During the summer, it's easy to forget. But just remember, every single week that you don't pick up your books, that money that's sitting in your box, your local comic shop can't use that money they would normally have to buy the next cycle of books. So it doesn't seem like much, even if it's just a couple books. Think about what that couple of books looks like across, like if your store has 100 pull lists that only have a couple books in it, how much money is that? That's a lot of money all stuck in boxes. So just help them out. Even if you call them up and say, can I pay for my box over the phone? Sure, they'll do that. Then you don't have to stress about it anymore. Coming up after this, you're going to see Wonderland. They've got really cool offerings, including the new comic books for the week. So make sure you stick around for that. And then some point later on in the day, you get to hang out with Audrey. And he usually has crazy stuff. He's super.
He's doing a cover reveal for War Lion tonight. That's going to be awesome. And real quick, I wanted to say that friend of ours, Bronze Age Nerd, who does Best Coast Comics on Monday, this Saturday at, I believe, 5 Eastern, 4 Central, he will be doing his Heroes for Heroes charity comic book auction. Ooh. Last year, I think they went like 11, 12 hours, something like that. I'm going to post the link in the chat. It's for a very good cause to help out Mission 22 for vets. So save that pre-link, folks, and check the show out on Saturday.
That's really awesome. I think the longest charity auction I've ever done was 25 hours. That was for Extra Life, when they, for some reason, always have Extra Life on the night when the hour changes. So if you're going to do a 24-hour challenge, it kind of ends up being 25. I was pretty messed up at the end of it. People stuck with me until back in the day, Facebook used to make you time out every 4 hours and you'd have to start the feed again. But when I took my break at like 4 a.m., which is where it kind of like landed, when I came back, it was like everyone was like sleeping. And then they came back at 6 a.m. So that worked out fine. So definitely support that. I really appreciate you guys coming and enjoying this show. If you wouldn't mind, if you'd share it with your friends, I want to be very helpful to them also, especially if you've got people in your life that you're like, I don't know if they would like comic books. At least I might get them interested in something to read, something to enjoy. And I want to say thanks to Jay for taking care of all of the behind the scenes stuff today and all the rest of the time. I'm very appreciative. And I will see you guys next time. And I will have Shanice back then. She'll be back from her vacay. So all right, see you guys later.